Number one, which I didn't take as seriously, was building the relationship not with your client, but with the person that's selling the business, right? Because again, that person is the one that built this baby for 30 years, is selling, and they're just giving it away to someone that they don't know well, right? And generally speaking, especially smaller deals, they don't know the process, right? Whether they have an advisor or not, they don't understand the process. They generally don't just, unwittingly trust the other side. And if something small happens, then that's kind of it, right? And then the deal kind of falls apart. So if you can build that relationship with the other side from the beginning, and be in lockstep, so when things happen, you can explain to them, right? Hey, just want to let you know before we send this over or before we start talking about network capital, I want to explain how it works, right? So it's not a surprise when we send this over. It builds a lot of goodwill if you can do it from the beginning, right? Whether it's with the client or with the investment bank, it doesn't really matter, but building some part of that relationship on the other side, so that way, you can kind of continue that go forward, because it's a bit of a marriage for a few months, right? You're talking back and forth literally every day, all day for at least 60 to 90 days. So I think building that relationship from the beginning can be very helpful to actually get the deal done, especially when there's issues that come up. Hire an advisor. And what's funny? I think, if I ran a company and I didn't know much about M&A, I don't think I would hire an advisor, right? Because I was like, I know enough. I can kind of get it done, which I completely understand. It's one of those, you don't know what you don't know, and until you go through a process and by yourself, right? And oh my God, like, you don't realize how much work it is, two, how much you don't know, and then three, at the end you can say, okay, well, I got the deal done, but was it really worth it, right? So maybe the value was okay, but the structure is awful, and you don't realize it, but there's a seller's note for 10 years, and you're not even gonna get your money for at least 7 or 8, right? So like, there's so many things that are part of the deal people don't realize. And again, it happens a lot where a client either tries to go through it themselves, or a client tries to go through it themselves and then use an investment bank, right? Like a small broker, that doesn't really even know your name, doesn't know the business well, just throws it out there, doesn't get a good value off it. And then they ultimately come to us. And I think we've done it now 4 or 5 times where a client has tried to sell twice, hasn't worked, and then come to us, and then we ultimately get the deal done, right? And again, I don't think we're doing anything unique or special. It's really more just a matter of taking the time, you know, crafting the story in the right way, right? And finding the appropriate buyer, and honestly holding their hand through diligence, because again, things come up. So yeah, I think that, and honestly getting a good M&A attorney. Those are two big ones that, if it can make the process much smoother and a lot less of a headache.